Hey, this is Arshad. I'm the founder and CEO of Amrita Health Foods. I just wanted to reach out to you because, I started this company based on my son's journey with autism. My son is 15 now, and he was diagnosed when he was around 2.5 years old. So around this time every year, we really think about, the diagnosis and sort of the journey. So it's about 12 years in, and I was just thinking the other day about some of the lessons that I could part onto other parents who are going through this. So I'll talk about 3 or 4 key things. The first one is, the diagnosis is always a shock, and the best thing you can do is to get into a positive frame of mind. I think too many people in this autism community go down the blame game of trying to figure out what caused it. Is it vaccines? Is it this? Is it that? At the end of the day, that doesn't matter. You've got an issue in your hand, solve it, right? Because the second thing I wanted to mention is that time is really of essence, especially for early diagnosis. And so focus on giving that child as much resources, as much energy as you can early on, because it does make exponential difference. And part of it is because the brain is very pliable at that early age. So I was able to take some time off work. It was not easy on the family, especially because services are expensive, job markets are uncertain, but you just have to make that decision, and hopefully your boss or the company will understand why you're doing it. So I took the time off, partly because I really wanted to learn the services that were being offered so that I could practice it with him. Services, as you know, are not cheap, and if you can learn it, you can essentially become this speech therapist, occupational therapist, behavior therapist, all of these pieces, and work with your child on all of those elements while the therapist is maybe coming in once or twice a week or whatever your state can afford or what you can afford. So that's the second thing. Really immerse yourself with your child and put every bit of resource you can early on in there. The third thing is really focus on nutrition. So the way we took nutrition was nutrition and sensory, and not every kid has to go through that. My son had severe gastrointestinal problems, and he had very strong sensory problems. So when he had a piece of carrot or he had an apple, that gave him a lot of sensory reflux, and that was something that he craved. So we worked really hard on getting him to try things like celery, apple, cucumber, anything that was hard, crunchy, that gave a reflex back. The protein bars that we sell now on our company was really created as a sensory exercise for him. We were basically kneading date paste in a dough form and adding in dried fruits and seeds, and just purely for play purposes, sensory play. And then we decided, instead of throwing this thing out, might as well cut it up into bars. Okay, so I think, and then the beauty of that is he's involved in it, he made it, more chance of him eating it, and also it's nutritionally dense. So I would tell you, definitely focus on nutrition, but also focus on something that's low inflammation. So kids on the autism spectrum tend to have what's called the brown diet, which is French fries, nuggets, anything with a lot of fat, a lot of gluten, a lot of oils in them. None of those things are healthy for them. So whatever you can do to get them away from that early on would be important. A simple trick that I'll give you is that I found that my son really liked the vessel that the thing came in. So Burger King bags was really important to him. The sort of the smell was important. So we basically made these French fries at home, put it into those bags, and that took away one element of frustration for him. And over time, he thought that those things were coming from McDonald's and Burger King. The fourth thing that I want to mention is that everybody needs to be on board. This is really difficult within family, especially if you've got other kids. But it's hard enough for the spectrum kid to change, and it's difficult. Change is difficult for them, but if they see everybody around them not changing, it's even more difficult. So everybody has to be on board, and if the kid's eating, gluten-free something, everybody has to do the same thing. Again, discussing more on the area of nutrition, the inflammation foods, milk in particular, gluten, casein in milk, and there's a lot of studies that have talked about gluten-free, casein-free diet in the spectrum, and it really worked wonders for us. You'll have to try it. I think, there's study after study that shows that dairy is heavily mucus forming, causes all sorts of issues. There's so many non-dairy alternatives out there in the market. There's absolutely no reason not to give up dairy. When I was going through this 12 years ago, the only thing available was soy milk, and soy is really not good for you. But now you've got, you name it, at least another 10, 20 options out there. So definitely, move away from gluten, move away from dairy, and if you can, do less nuts, focus more on seeds. They give you the same reflux in terms of sensory reflexes, and they tend to be a little bit lower in inflammation. The other thing I wanted to just mention was the need to figure out simple solutions, in terms of low expense solutions. So I mentioned that I learned all these therapy sessions. There's plenty of YouTube videos out there now that teach it. So you don't have to spend all your money paying for therapists. Just learn this and just practice it day in, day out with your child. The other thing you can do, and we're going to put a book and a video out on this, is just simple techniques to do sensory stuff. Like you can go to Home Depot, buy a plank of wood, and walking on the plank of wood is a sensory exercise. An occupational therapist will probably charge you $100 an hour to do exactly that. Or buy a sack, a burlap sack, and just run up and down your backyard with it with your child. That's a huge sensory exercise. So I think my point is that there's a ton of things that you can do with your child that cost practically nothing, that will really move the needle forward. All right, the last thing I just want to mention is the need for positivity and the need for health for you and for your significant other. So, it was a really tough, probably 4 or 5 years for us. My health really went downhill. The stress levels were out of control. And I think I just didn't take great care of myself going through it. So I just wanted to give people the advice that if you are under tremendous stress and you don't take the time to go for a run or make sure you're getting adequate sleep, you can't service your child. Okay? So you have to figure out how to keep yourself in good shape mentally and physically going through it. And then the last piece I'll leave you with is just think positive, right? There are hundreds and hundreds of case studies of kids who have been diagnosed early who make it through the recovery process, and it's just sheer hard work and all that. And even if they don't make it through the full recovery, if they make it further along, that's a massive victory. So just think positive and definitely leave a comment if there's anything I can help you with. My son is 15, he's in a regular mainstream high school now. He lost his diagnosis, I think 3-4 years ago. Still got some characteristics, but definitely not on the spectrum. And I feel very fortunate, but I had to put in a tremendous amount of work to get there, and I want to do everything I can to pay it forward to you. So hit me up, you send me a message here, and if there's anything I can do to help you, I'd love to do that. Thanks.